Hello, my name is Miatuko. I'm a international student from Myanmar and currently a junior at City College of New York. I'm majoring in computer science and taking an iOS course at CoPet and almost finished the course next week. Currently, I'm leading the development team, especially focusing on the website at the nonprofit organization called Revolutionary Insider, where we aim to provide a free educational platform for students in Myanmar and to build a platform to spread the awareness of things happening in Myanmar in regards to the coup. Uh, previous Previously in my internship at Code UK, I'm part of the front-end development team where we use React.js framework to migrate the WordPress website to a fully functional website, and my responsibility there includes to provide support for the fellow interns in helping with building the website and using the React framework, and also helping them to solve the GitHub merge conflicts and how to use command line tools. Aside from the technical experience, I was also a peer mentor at American Center in Myanmar, where I taught English to non-ESL students, and I help give support and help the non-ESL non-English speaker students to with their homework and assignments and their lectures in class. In order to send data from the first view controller to the second view controller using Segway, I wrote some blocks of code in order to showcase this. First, we had the function called prepare. Uh, it's already written for us on the bottom of the view controller file that we especially on the first view controller file that we just had to comment out. But if we don't have it, this is a way to write it. So we had to make sure that the function is overwritten, and we can call it we normally call it prepare, and then we use for segue and a user UI storyboard segue, and a center can be any with optional type. Then inside that prepare function, we had to declare a variable to store the data that we want to send to this another view controller. Then we had to declare a variable to store the destination of another another view controller by using segue.destination, and then tell the name of the view controller that we want to send to, or in our case, it's gonna be second view controller. And inside the second view controller, we had to declare a variable to store to store or to receive to keep the data that we receive from another variable that we just pass on to. And by that, and then we had to say the second view controller second vc.data, which is the data that we just create, the variable that we just created in the second view controller class, and then assign that to the data that we just received from the first view controller. That way we can just pass on the string or any type of data from one view controller to another view controller by using segue. And the second question is to how to create a protocol or delegate method in order to send data from the second view controller to the first view controller. So in the second view controller, we had to create a protocol, and in our case, it's gonna be my data sending delegate protocol. And inside that protocol, we had to declare a function that we had to call when we want to send the data to, with a parameter of a string type or the type that we want to send. And in our case, it's gonna be my data. And inside the second view controller class, we had to declare a delegate variable of a protocol type, and it's optional, and we had to assign that to nil first. And then we had to create, and in our case, we create the text field in order to receive the text from the user, And before we send any data from the second view controller to the first view controller, we have to check two steps. The first step is to check whether the delegate itself is nil. It's not nil. And the second thing to check is whether the text field is empty or not. If it's empty, we don't want to call the function inside the protocol to send the data from the second view controller to the first view controller. Then we declare a variable and assign that variable to the data that we receive from the text field. Then we call the the function inside the protocol, the function that we are going to use to send the data from and pass the data that we just collected as a parameter. Then we go to the first view controller where we receive the data from the second view controller by using the delegate protocol. Then inside the first view controller, we have to declare a delegate function or delegate method, and then make sure that it has a parameter as well, since we're receiving the dates, a type of data, some type of data from the second view controller. Then inside this function, we had to assign whatever the label or whatever the placeholder that we want to show the text or the string text that we just received from the second view controller. Then in this way, we just say self dot label dot text equal to the data that we receive from the second view controller. And we also need to make sure that we had this segue or a navigation functionality, the same that I mentioned before, in the part of how to send the data from the first view controller to the second view controller. It's a function for a prepare function in order to make sure that the second view controller pops up as or knows that the first view controller is connected to the second view controller. So when I try to run the application on my simulator, I can see that there is no data populating on the table view, and I also try to refresh to see whether it's working or not. And turns out it was been working, and now we can see here the error is called unable to DQ a cell with identifier movie cell. So that means it's something related to identifier. So I try to go and check inside the view controller, so which is a movie view controller, and all the way down to where I see like to declare a cell and to do the DQ reusable cell with identifier movie cell. So that means this movie cell is there, but I'm just gonna copy just in case I need that, because I'm gonna go and check the main.storyboard storyboard to see if this name is the same or not. So I go to movie cell, and as I can see here, the identifier has a different name, which spells with movie with S, but inside this movie view controller, it says without S. So those two places has to be the same name. Just gonna go ahead and change it. And another thing is that whenever we're using a custom table view cell, three places have to have the same name, which is this identifier and movie view controller with DQ reusable cell with identifier, and another place is this class has the same name. So three places has to be the same name. And let's just try to run the application to see if resolve the issues. I know that the populating is not gonna work because something's more working, so I'm gonna refresh it again. And this time it said set value for the file key. Its key is like label. Key is title label. So it's related to something still inside the main.storyboard related to a title label. So it's gonna check the title label. UI outlet connection. It says that there's a connection there, but somehow it's not connecting. So I'm gonna check the detail or the movie sales. So here, as we can see here, it's empty. So that means it's not somehow it's not connected or linked to the UI IB outlet. So this one, so if it's filled, that means it's connected. So I'm just gonna try to connect it again. So I'm just gonna open this one and cite another one, view movie cell, and then try to delete this connection and connect this again to the title. Now we know that it's already connected, and try to run the application to see if we resolve. So it's always better to do one error at a time and see, okay, so it's not populating again. Try to refresh it, and there's an error. So filter error and expected found new and wrapping, so optional. Interesting. So it means that there's nothing, no value or no result from the movie, the dictionary movie result title, with a key title. So, and also another thing is that whenever we're trying to use the API, so all the key are always used as a lowercase, not uppercase. We're gonna switch that, so probably that's gonna solve the error. So try to run the application one more time, and it's still not populating. So I'm trying to refresh it. So when I try to refresh it, and it populates, but whenever the application is launched in the beginning, it's not populating. And somehow there's a title. The detail view is working, so there's somehow it's a title, but you can see here it's like so here it's like when I go down, it's like the title is there, it's like Chaos Walking, Tom and Jerry. So the title is there, but it's not in the right place. So we have to find. So we have to find that here. It's the cell. So another thing is, okay. So this is a place where so here it's a cell.text label, but inside the cell dot movie cell dot swift it says movie label. So those two has to be the same. So we're gonna switch that. So cell dot movie label and movie label. Try to run it. Okay, so it's still not showing up. Okay, so there's the title is there and everything's fine. So everything is the right place and the title is there, but the only thing is whenever the app is launched, it's not showing. So from this point, we know that the network call is correct. So we're gonna go and find where we call the networking part. Network. We're gonna find network util network error. So okay, so we can see here that this is how we got the movie. So network util get movie, and so it's from the util side network calls, and then we have this API and movie API, and this is a function static function that we created, we were given to. So I'm gonna go back to movie view. So it says here get movie endpoint. So we know that here this is where the movies are populated. Whenever there's a if it's a sex in getting the API from the network sorry movie from the API. So this means that we know that whenever we try to refresh our application, that we know that the movies are already populated, but somehow as soon as the app is launched, it's not populating. So let's see, let's try one thing and see if it's correct. Movie data, and we want to know if it's what's the count of the movie. So we try to run it. So another good way to debug a project is try to have a print statement in a project like this to see how things are, like to see that here it says that movie data is nil. So this is inside this view did load function, which will be called whenever the view is loaded. So it says here this is printing, but it's not print. It's doesn't have the data inside there, but we know that this refresh function is working, and we also know that table view dot reload data is there. So whenever we're using the table view in storyboard, we had to we had to reload the data every time. Here, that refresh control action where it controls the refresh functionality, and we call this refresh function, and it says a movie dot table view dot reload data. So this is where the reload function, and when we try to refresh it, and this one is loaded. So let's see. Let's try to put this one into here since we have this wave, but let's see if it's gonna be the same. Okay, so as we figured out that this refresh function and this refresh function needs to be the same because they're using the same networking call from here. So the way that it works is that before that we had this one outside of this refresh function, so it reloads the table view before this refresh function finished. So in that way, this one is called first, and then we can see it by putting the breakpoint here. I'm gonna rerun the data. So we reached this point, and then we're gonna go move to the next. So here it's gonna see before even finishing the refresh function, it steps over here, and then it finished up, and it goes back to here inside the refresh function. So before the refresh function finish, the table view reload data is finished. That's why in our application it's not populating the data even though it's there. So we're just gonna skip. And we'll go to them. I'm just gonna go all the way down there. So as we see with breakpoints, it's called this refresh function first, but it moved to this line 63 where it reload the data inside the table view. So before even finishing the refresh function, it was reloaded. So it with the empty there's with no data inside the table movie movie dictionary. So when we move this inside the refresh function and run again with breakpoints, as we expected, we're gonna reach to this point, and we try to run it, and it ends to the view did load. So it ends. Then it comes back to the refresh function if there is a result, and we call this here. And if there is a result, then we're gonna filter. We're gonna put whatever movie result that we had into the movie filter as well. Then it's gonna reload the table view. Then it's gonna end and gonna go there. So it's me until it's true. We're gonna just run the application. There we go. We had this movie data populated in our application, and whenever we try to refresh it again, it's also there. So when we try to refresh it, it's gonna call, because we had the breakpoint, we're gonna delete this one and run. So here is there. So to recap, especially using these movies custom cell with identifier. One place is whenever we're using DQ reusable cell, this identifier name, and inside the main storyboard, the identifier here and the class, all three has be the same name with, it's really case sensitive. Another thing is just the IP outlet connection inside, somehow it's disconnected, even though we can see here it's connected. And the third, another error is that even though we had this IP outlet variable name called movie label, but inside when we try to give the title, but it says title label instead of movie label, that's another error. And the last error that we tackle is this part, to reload, misplace the reload function, reload call to call the reload function uh, after the refresh, but in the machine it was calling before the refresh function, and so there's no data inside there. Yep, that's all, and thank you very much.